haunting soundscapes, brooding atmosphere, hypnotic grooves, and enough ethereal riffage to have you astral project right out of your seat. Our next guests have been mystifying audiences with live performances consisting of all the above. And on the eve of a highly anticipated new record, Threshold Wanderer, the time is nigh for this celestial power trio. The Raw Alternative welcomes The Long Hunt.
But I'm Trevor. I'm the guitarist for The Long Hunt.
I'm Allison. I play bass.
And Mark Lyons. I play the drums.
So you're on the eve here of a quietly anticipated new record. Why don't you jump right in and talk about the new record?
Wrongly anticipated.
Yeah, I mean,
highly anticipated. Sorry.
I think if plans went as we were hoping, it would already have been out for about a year now. So we recorded it in January of 2020, and it's a 6-song full length. So full length for us is like usually 5-6 songs because our songs are about 8 minutes long typically. It's a continuation of maybe what we did on All Paths Lead to Here, and sound-wise. It's got a lot of variety. Would you say like it's more psychedelic in some cases? It's heavier in some cases. Some of the songs are proggier. There's a chorus pedal on one of the songs, so
More layers.
More layers. Yeah, it's a little bit more produced. And I've been working on a animated music video for the entire album in Blender. So for the last 8 months, I've been animating a music video for each song. So that's going to be released hopefully in parallel with the album itself at some point. Did I hit everything?
Yeah.
Oh, and well, I guess the music video tells a story too. So it's like the album itself is somewhat of a concept album, though it's hard to convey concepts when you don't have a vocalist, seeing as we're an instrumental band. But there's like a loose concept behind the album music-wise, and then I'm kind of like putting a story with the visual aspect of it. So it's like a 45-minute animated movie with our album doing the soundtrack. Yeah.
You hit on a lot of points I wanted to ask you about, actually, because one of the things that's really unique about your live presentation is the visual element. And Trevor, I'm assuming you have a heavy hand in that?
Yeah, I mean, I've been into video editing and, film and stuff like that for almost 20 years now. So that's just a continuation of that interest. I think for the live stuff, we're mostly taking old movies and like sort of superimposing it with
Like Black Sunday cuts.
Yeah, like Village of the Damned or whatever, like whatever royalty-free stuff you can get on archive.org and not get sued or whatever. And then I would put like superimposed images of like forest scenes or whatever, like us walking in the forest. Yeah. So it was kind of a visual experience, I guess, would you say, with our live stuff. So it's like we'd have a projection with these scenes playing out when we'd play live. Yeah, it just gives people something else to look at. So rather than us, because we're not that interesting, maybe.
Yeah, we don't have a lead singer, like,
right.
His hair flowing or something.
Yeah. We don't have a lead singer or much hair to work with. Well, I mean, yeah, but yeah.
So being that you don't have a vocalist, does that free you up to explore, in a musical sense, does this free you up to explore mood and atmosphere in a way where maybe a vocalist would sort of, have a more concise idea or picture of what the band is trying to say? But because you are an instrumental act, are you able to play with tone and atmosphere and mood and express yourselves a little bit, I don't know, I guess a little bit more into your instrument?
Yeah, I would say so. I'll let everybody maybe answer that, but one of the biggest things that we do when we play live is we have elements of improvisation. So, the songs have a structure, but I'd say almost every song has a section that is somewhat left to fate, if you will, when you get up there on stage. So you can just let the mood take you. I mean, we've had like outros that are almost as long as the song itself. So it's like you have a 6-minute song, and then we're just like playing off of like 1 or 2 chords for another 6 minutes, much to everyone's chagrin, I'm sure, but
Not ours.
not ours. We love it. So, I mean, that gives us the chance to sort of branch out, because you're not, having a vocalist that's just sitting there waiting for us to get to the chorus or whatever, which is cool.
Yeah, you don't have to do the same boring chorus vocal thing. You can maybe do it more with like what Trevor does. I notice he does it more with like leads and stuff like that. You can do, instead of like the chorus vocals, it's just more of like a lead, and you can write it off of more jam type situations and do it as short or as long as you want to, instead of having this kind of specific cut to vocal where everybody kind of lays back, where we can kind of just flow in and out of pretty much every song. Yeah.
Yeah, the thing I love about instrumental music is that the listener can take their meaning from it. We have a vibe or a mood that we might be trying to convey, but it can be different to the listener. And every show, it could be different. And if you add the visuals, it might be different at that time as well. And as much as I love words and literature and everything, I love not having the words or vocals in our music. I think it really makes it more open.
Would you think that perhaps maybe a line, take your song titles. I don't know if they come as an afterthought once the music exists, or maybe a script or prompt for the music you're trying to create, but do you ever take sort of an idea, be it a phrase, or maybe even just a picture, and create music around that, create a mood around that, and then build the music from there?
Yeah, I'd say, I don't know how everyone else's experience is, but like I have this weird thing. It's not like quite synesthesia, I guess, or seeing pictures with image, with sound or whatever, but it's somewhat similar to that, where it's like certain pieces of music or whatever might invoke like an image. Mm-hmm. So I'm already like getting like a vibe just from the mood or the tone or whatever. And so I'm like already picturing that, and it might not actually have that kind of trigger to somebody else. Like, so it's not always going to be the same outcome, but for me, like I might have a vibe or an image that I then use to maybe if I'm trying to create the visual or whatever, like I take it in that direction, or even just naming the song, like I'll just get the vibe and that'll help me like name the song. But it also goes in reverse. Like you can, like you're saying, start with like an image or a picture or whatever, like a vibe, and then write music based on that. I like writing within parameters too. Like the first album had a lot of like very closed parameters. Like we were trying to be very minimalist, and I wanted like a sparse sound, soundtracky, dry almost, and just having that vibe or parameters being set going into writing the songs like really helped keep everything cohesive. And I think that's the same thing with what we're doing now too, right? With the new album, it's just like having a what would you say, like a
limit?
Well, yeah. Am I rambling?
No, not rambling.
Yeah.
I don't. Not sure exactly.
A
what
theme,
you're
I
saying.
think, is where I'm going with that. Yeah.
Within the realm of a theme.
Yeah. Yeah.
You had kind of a visual and a story.
Yeah.
That you wanted to convey.
Yeah, because it was weird. Like with this last one, like we have probably an album's worth of material that won't be on the new one. So it's like the next album after this new one that we wrote during 2020, essentially.
6 songs.
Yeah, it's like another 6 songs. And oddly enough, like the songs just have like numbers. It's like 1 through 6. Like, so it's like play number 5. Like they don't have names yet. And this last album, the newest one that's unreleased, was Colors. Mm-hmm. So it's like they were colors until I came up with like a theme, and then that transferred into the names of the songs.
Yeah.
And then that kind of grew into what you'll see represented in the story in the music video. So it's kind of like it's like art creating itself in a weird sort of way. So it's like you get a vibe, and then it's like when we were writing these songs like 3 years ago, in some cases, like we had no idea where they were going visually, but then it sort of like has its own thing, and it manifests itself, if you will, like on its own, which is kind of cool. Yeah.
I've always had a little fascination myself with sort of colors and auras, different tones that I guess express a mood. Kind of skipping up to your live visuals.
Yeah.
How important are they to the music? Are they do they go hand in hand? Are they sort of, how do I want to say this? Dependent on one another?
Yeah, you couldn't have a Three's Company episode or something, but yeah.
I mean, we could try, I guess. I don't know. Well, the cool thing about what we're doing is it's not just like, I did take some movies or whatever from the 50s, black and white horror movies or whatever, and it's interspersed, but it's not as simple as like just putting on the movie and then suddenly it's like Pink Floyd and Wizard of Oz like lining up. It's like, it's more like
Themes, just the feeling of
well,
the
it is themes, yeah. I mean, it's typically nature and things within nature, cycles, life, death, that kind of thing.
Dark images.
Archetypes, yeah. But it's also like I have like 3 video tracks, and they're all like fading in and out of each other with cross dissolves, for example. So it's not just like the original movie being played. Mm-hmm. It's more like different images being presented on a sort of like it's like looking at a lava lamp almost more than anything else. Yeah, it's just different images coming in and
intersecting
out.
Collage of...
And where I'm going with this is there's no intent per se. I mean, I'm very selective with what images you're like picking and obviously putting into the video itself. But then on the timeline in the video editor, I'm just kind of moving stuff around, and I just let sort of like fate somewhat like merge the 2 clips, and then you actually get like a third image. So out of 2 clips being merged, which might create different meaning for you. Like there's scenes of like witches burning, for example, like from, I don't know, Village of the Damned or some other crazy Black Sunday. I don't even know. And, but it's interspersed with like nature, like us walking in West Virginia, like a GoPro of us walking in West Virginia, and then like a bird flying, and then a wolf like walking, and it's all just like mixing. And what that means to the individual might be different. Well, at least I hope so. Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, there's intent going into it, but I think you're creating an environment that allows the individual to come up with their own meaning rather than forcing meaning on the individual specifically. Yeah. And
I don't think that that you would need to have the visuals. I think we add that as an addition, as an extra part of the experience. But listening to the music itself, for when we're playing and we don't have the visuals, I think it's its own thing. But the visuals add part to the experience. Member of the band,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well.
Maybe.
I always said silence is the 4th member of the band, so we're going to say it's the 5th member of the band.
5 members now.
And then Satan is the 6th member, so clearly.
Oh, great.
Right.
So, I mean, you've touched on this several times already, and one thing that I've always been disappointed is, especially if there's a artist that I've been into for, since I was a teen, and a song's really meant one thing to me, and then I come to find out they dissect it to the point where you ruined it. So how important is that ambiguity and that it's left to the listener's interpretation? How important is that to you?
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, mystery is probably one of the most important aspects of music, I think, especially with instrumental bands or any band, really, right? I think just like you said, I don't think I've ever been happier after I found out more than I need to know about the band. I've always been more happy knowing a little less than I think I needed to know about the band. probably most. I don't know how you guys feel, but yeah, it seems like the more I find out about bands, I might either stay the same or like them less. Like you said, become where you find out, oh, I'm a little let down now that I know a little too much about this.
Is there an instance where you feel like you have the mood built up to the point where you know where you want to say and it's ready to get that on tape? Or is it more improvisational? I'd like to know how you record, how you write, and then how you record.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a process, and it's not probably that unique, but, you know, I'll typically be playing guitar by myself, and like I have a similar setup to here where I'm just like surrounded by instruments, microphones, like drum machines, drums, like everything like is just around me at all times, and like that's my main working environment. So I'm playing guitar, I'm able to record, I'm able to like cut up loops or whatever, but there's a point where it's like you need input from other people, and that's usually what happens. So we like go into practice and I bring maybe an idea, and then it gets fleshed out. And then we record that at practice, bring it back to my solo adventures, and then I'm like, you know, working out leads and things like that. Bring that back to the band. So it's like a back and forth, with like each aspect being just as important. And then I think the live shows are critical for writing, because with the improvisation, we almost need like a live audience to hash out some of the parts, you know, because there's like that.
See what works.
Yeah, well, you see what works and you're getting feedback, but I don't know, there's like this weird thing. It's like, it's kind of like everyone's looking at you, so you better not fuck it up. So it's like the same kind of thing with like songwriting, like, you know, I don't know, it's like you're like extra critical.
You add some hesitancy.
Yeah. You're extra critical and
There's an extra pressure.
Yeah, an extra pressure, sure. Yeah, that's good. So basically, after we've done the back and forth thing, and then we're playing it live, then we maybe let it sit for 6 months and then record it. But when we go into the studio, like the last song on the new album is called Procession of Dust, and it's like 12 and a half minutes long, and that's a structured 12 and a half minutes. And there's like a centerpiece or center portion of it that's like maybe 4 minutes long, that's like more improvised. And like something like that like is really difficult to record, because we're not recording live. Like, this isn't a jazz band. It's like, you know, we're definitely overdubbing. So we record Mark's drums, and we kind of have a general idea of where we want to go. And then when I get time to record my own parts, in a way you're adjusting to the recorded drum track in a way, so you kind of box yourself in, which can be a cool thing.
Yeah,
but
you
it's
guys usually strip it down and add everything back up off the drums after we start.
right. Yeah, but it was just like it was kind of like a what's the word, like I don't know. You're like taking something that's like free and changes literally every time you play it, and then you're like nailing it down, and that kind of gives you a weird feeling, but I guess it needs to be done.
Yeah. And that
So.
changes how we play it live, ultimately.
Yeah, and the cool thing is like once it's recorded too, like some of these songs that we're playing are like 3 years old now, like from the last album. Yeah, and we actually develop like different idiosyncrasies within the song that now become standard. So if we were to re-record it, it would be in there, but it was never on the original. So it's like the songs have a continued life beyond the album, which is maybe a throwback to your question about like the benefits of instrumental music. Like, no one's expecting to hear the chorus. So if I want to play a diminished chord for 5 minutes straight, I can. And we do.
That's awesome. That also kind of ties in another thing I wanted you touch base on is, now that you have sort of this wealth of material, you're on, release number 3. Do you find yourself going back to older material, and now that you've been in the headspace of what's new, do you find new meaning to older material? Does it sort of fit in a new and different way than it did before?
Yeah, I think so. one thing I like about old material is you have the benefit of time to like look back on it and actually see it for what it really is. It's like we're so immersed in the songs, me especially, because I'm editing this video for the music video. I'm like basically done with it now, but it's like it's been a daily thing for 8 months now. So I'm like literally hearing the song.
Probably
and
played it then.
yeah, right. And then I'm practicing it, and it's like you're so in the detail and minutia of the song that you can't step back and see for what it is. But having a song that's 4 years old or whatever, like on our first album, it's like, you know, especially if it's a song you haven't played in a while, which some of those we haven't played, you actually get to hear it for what it really is. So that gives you a different perspective, I think. I don't know if that answers the question, though.
Close enough. So, a quick sidebar. Oh, I'm going to ask about 2 more questions,
Right
and
on.
then we'll, elaborate and go from there.
Cool.
So I think we're at about, 20? A little over?
Yeah.
Okay. So a quick little sidebar. Interesting thing you are involved in is the Of Music in Mind web entity, because it's not really a blog. It has a lot of different elements to it. Talk to me about that. And does it tie into the creative process of the Long Hunt in any way, shape, or form?
Well, we created Of Music in Mind really as a way to explore that connection between the creative process and music, psychology, human nature, all of that stuff. And that's something that we enjoy talking about a lot and exploring, dissecting, that kind of thing. I really enjoy writing. Thought it would be a good way to have an opportunity to write about those things, and then using Trevor's photography and videography whenever we can, it has been a great way to, again, put the visuals to the meaning of what we're exploring. And I don't think it really has anything directly to do with the Long Hunt, but the types of things that happen in the Long Hunt, the creative process.
Psychology of music or whatever.
Yeah, and the making meaning with music and with instruments and sound and everything. That's the kind of thing that we're exploring all the time. And we do interviews as well to talk to other musicians about the meaning they make with their songs, or psychological experiences that they've had and how that relates to their music. And those are things that are really interesting to us and that we like to explore. So there's that connection, but I wouldn't say a direct connection, except it's another creative thing that we do together.
Well, I would say it's inspirational too, just to see how other people go through the process. So it kind of gives you,
That's true.
new ideas, but it's also a symbiotic thing. Like you're feeding off of other people's like experience and coming up with your own.
Yeah, that's
So,
that's a really good point. Detail.
If you want to see the full list of stuff that we're doing, you just go to listentothelonghunt.com, and you can even look at our previous show history. Watch 2 years ago, we were playing our 50th show as a band, and I think we're on 53 now. So, big break.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for entertaining me, and meaning not entertaining me, but entertaining my nonsense. I think is that the word?
Yeah, that's the nonsense. But thanks for your interesting questions.
Oh,
Once more into the mic.
Thank you for your interesting questions.
Likewise, from Of Music in Mind.